This Paint Live TV, I'm Chris, the Idaho painter. In this video, I'm going to talk about more caulking your tape scenarios. I keep getting a lot of questions about how do I deal with the paint that cracks over the top of the caulking after it dries. In this video, I'm going to talk about a scenario. We have it happen right here. It's not something you see very often, but how do you deal with it? How do I deal with it? I'm going to show you exactly how you deal with it in this video, so stay tuned. All right, so we have a scenario right here where the paint actually did crack over the top of the caulking, and I'm going to talk to you about why and why we typically don't see this happen very often. And when we caulk over our, or when we paint over our caulking, the caulking itself is a latex caulking. It's a water-based product. Our paint is a water-based product, so they're both compatible, but the caulking is going to shrink. And as it shrinks, the paint is going to expand itself and it could crack. But we don't see that except only with paints that are matte or flat based paints. And the reason why is they don't have as much acrylic in those paints or resins to make them flexible. The resins are what gives it a sheen. They got to take some of that stuff out so it looks flat or matte, and then the paint just doesn't have that flexibility. It's really rare that we ever paint with flat paints, maybe once every 2 to 3 years. This is a bathroom. Customer wanted it flat to have a certain look to it, and we had to repair some caulking around the granite countertops where there was a big gap, and we used a urethane caulking, and the urethane caulking is going to dry and not leave a tacky surface where the caulking's exposed. So that's a whole nother thing we can talk about later. But we repaired the caulking, went back, we used frog tape so we'd get a really nice crisp clean line on the granite here, and we painted over the top of the wet caulking. It was in the caulking, I'll show you, it's Tower urethane elastomeric sealant. And it was a gray color. And then the flat paint, it did crack. And once again, it did crack because there's not enough resins in the paint to actually give it some flexibility so it doesn't split and crack. But we see it, and it's not, it's always gonna happen with flat paint. It will never not happen. It's a very easy fix, and we're just gonna be using a touch-up brush. I like to use a Premier Hampton touch-up brush. This is a small touch-up brush. I'm just gonna go back and do my cut-ins and touch them up and touch up all the little cracks. It's very simple. I can go back, everything's dry now. I can just use frog tape if I don't have a steady hand, if I don't wanna get, or if I don't trust myself of getting, on my caulking and messing up my line. But I'm just gonna take my brush, steady hand, and I'm just gonna come down here, and I like to just go right over the top of my cracks, and then I brush back in an upward direction, just like this. And that's gonna fill in my cracks right here in the flat paint. So just go up, I'm gonna go down, and just goes, the previous paint, when I was brushing it on, I was brushing this direction. So I want the second coat to go in the opposite direction. I'm gonna come across, cut, and then just brush up. I'm gonna cut, fill that in, get really close. There's a crack right there, went all the way down to the caulking. And once again, if I'm not comfortable getting all the way down that close, I can just remask it, and I can remask it really fast. And then I can get really close if I'm not comfortable. But I'm pretty comfortable cutting in a line with this brush. And I always like to use a really new brush too. This one is brand new. When I'm doing stuff like this, I gotta be really precise. I want my filaments to be in excellent shape. I'm gonna get right down. Here's another one that's just all the way down to the caulking. So just like that, you can see how it's filling it in. This is how we deal with the cracks. Occasionally when it comes to satin and semi-gloss paints, they typically never ever crack. But if you were filling a huge gap, if it did crack, then you would just do the same technique right here. And this is the same technique. A lot of people ask me, what happens if you pull your masking and your cut-ins need another coat? This is exactly what we do. We don't go back and just recut everything in. Everything that's light, I just take and use my touch-up brush, and I just go back and touch up any light spots on my cut ends. My cut ends, I'm typically trying to one coat my cut ends and not have to do 2 coats on them. But there's typically always light spots in your cut ends somewhere that you just got to go back and touch up. It's never going to be 100% perfect. But you can see me just getting right down there. There's some, I'm not quite close enough to the caulking, but that looks pretty dang good there. You can see the corner right here, got some big cracks right here in the corner. I'm not worried about that. I'm just gonna, fill these in. Right here, the thicker the paint you put on your first coat, what's gonna happen is the bigger your cracks are gonna be. So right here, coming along here, I got a little bit on my caulking right here. That's a pretty good sized crack right here. And that's one where I would almost want to, put some tape. I'll show you just remasking it, just so I can fill that in really good right here. Now I can fill that gap in right there. Just like that. And if your cracks are really big, you may get a few other spots that split one more time, just a tiny bit more, and you just go back and hit them one more time and fill those in. Very simple and easy to do. Just takes a steady hand, cutting in. Once again, I can show you, I typically just do it by hand, but I can come back and just remask because my paint is dry, my caulking is dry. I could remask here. Now I can just re-go over my frog tape. You can see how fast it happens. I'm going to brush up, pull my masking, and there I have a perfectly straight line again still. All right, there you go. It's my sink is all fixed. I'm going to come back, check it one more time. I'm working on this 2 bathrooms here that we're doing, just remodeling. Just did the cabinets, did the mirror, and now we did the walls and doing some touch-up caulking, doing some sanding and stuff. And if you got any questions or comments about the caulking method, I know I've got quite a few videos how to caulk or how to paint over your caulking and stuff. You can go check out any of those other previous videos, but this is specifically dealing with your paint that's cracking over your caulking, which is a common thing if you're using matte or flat paints. If you got any questions or comments, leave it down in the comment section below. If you've got any tips or tricks you want to share with us right here on Paint Life TV, leave those down below. We always learn from each other, and I learn from going back and reading comments all the time. So leave those comments if you enjoyed the video. If it's helped you out, please consider giving us a thumbs up, and don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, or subscribing doesn't do anything. It just allows you to be notified every time I come out with a new video by email. Simple and easy to do. We're never going to market it to you other than notifying you when another video comes out right here on Paint Life TV. Like we always say, we'll see you next time right here on the show. Out.